The Wellness Show, Episode 41.
Welcome to The Wellness Show, a podcast on health and wealth. I'm your host, Tyson Bannigan, the founder of the Extraordinary Healing Arts Academy. Join me as we get the latest insight, tips, and strategies from wellness providers, coaches, and successful, heart-centered entrepreneurs, and much, much more. Well, welcome to the Wellness Show, and today I'm very excited to have Ria Swift with us today, and we're going to talk about her healing journey. She's really had quite an incredible time, and it's from her own personal survival and near-death experiences that she gets to share her unique perspective on how to heal yourself. And not only that, she's gone on to develop a number of innovative techniques to work with clients to help them in their own personal transformation and healing. So I'm very excited to have her on the show. So could you please, Ria, introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Ria Swift, and I'm from Pennsylvania, and I have a practice in expressive arts, energy medicine, and constellation work. And I use that to help people hone in on the issue, the bottom line, the root of their illness or their situation, their limitation, bad relationships, what have you. And we work through it with those processes so you get freedom and you get to release whatever's holding you back. And then your life changes. It's quite beautiful.
Yeah, it sounds wonderful. So tell us a bit about your own personal journey and how you came to this, because it wasn't easy, was it?
No, it was a long road. It was a very long road. Yeah. I had cancer 3 times, and the first time I had a mastectomy, and I went through all that stuff and chemotherapy and reconstruction. And about 2 years later, I got another lump in my other breast, and I just couldn't go back and do what I did before. There was no way. So I yelled and screamed at God, and I said, "You so-and-so, if you are who you say you are, then you heal me or kill me. Just do it fast." And in about a week and a half, people just started coming out of the woodwork. I never looked for anybody. I refused. I just decided I wasn't going to have cancer and I wasn't going to die. That was it. I was done. And it changed my life. And I've studied for about 25 years until I was about 60, from 38 till about 60. And then one day I knew that I was done studying. So I practiced all those years and I studied and I teach. And now I want to train people in the body of work that has kind of developed through me. I don't know that I give myself the credit for it. I just think I was smart enough to take what came to me and used it.
Well, when you say people showed up out of the woodwork, do you mean that that's where potential teachers or people that helped you out? Is that what you mean?
Yep, the teachers just showed up. People just showed up. I didn't really look for anybody. A flyer would come in the mail. A friend would say a name. A card was given to me. It was all very organic, all an impromptu style healing. And I had no intention of doing this work. I was a dancer, and I wanted to get back to dancing. And I'm working with juvenile delinquents. And I realized through doing it, one day it just hit me over the head. This is where you're at. This is what you're going to do,
Right.
You have to So I just really hunkered down and just kept moving forward and developed a pretty comprehensive body of work, I think.
Yeah, it sounds, and I love the word, the comprehensive body of work, because really that's what you're doing, a comprehensive body of work, how to reintroduce people back to their body in a comprehensive way. So I love that. That was sort of a play on words, but that really is what you're about. So you're getting at this from different modalities. How did that all come about? How did these modalities come about? Did they come about in some sort of sequence or what? Like, how did the constellation part, for example, come into your life?
Well, I have to start with the energy medicines. That was first.
Okay.
That's the first thing I did in 1989. I did something called thymal kinesiology, which integrates the right and left hemispheres of the brain. And that takes the stress off the immune system and helps your body function better so you can heal yourself, so your body can begin to heal. So I did that for a couple of years. I learned that, and I started teaching that. My first practice was shiatsu, so I learned a lot about that, acupressure and meridians and the subtle bodies, the chakras, etc. And I did different energy medicines, and every one I did, at the end of it, I would realize, well, that didn't address ABC. So then I go and I would just put that out into the ethers, and then something else would show up. So it just kept like a ball, snowball rolling down a hill. And then came the expressive arts. So I went to a training program. I had ovarian cancer. I didn't know I had it. I knew there was something wrong in my ovaries. The chemo had made me sterile. My mother was dying from lung cancer, and we took her to see a Russian healer in Coney Island. And the man looked at me and he said, "You have cancer in your ovaries." And I went, "What?" And he said, "Yeah, you do, but don't worry about it. It will be taken care of." And I knew he knew what he was talking about. He was an incredibly gifted man. And about 6 months later, a flyer came to the house to go to Peaceful Meadow Retreat in Boulder, Colorado. Hannah Kroger, who is a very famous healer. She's now deceased.
Very much so.
Right. And I went there to study for a week. I kept forgetting I had cancer. I just forgot about it because I trusted what he said. It felt right to me. And she put her hands on me at the end of, it was July 4th, which was my birth date. I was supposed to be born July 4th. I wasn't born until the 14th. My mom was in labor off and on for 10 days.
Oh my
and
goodness.
She said I would crawl down, and come back up again, and I'd fall down, and I'd crawl back up again. Long story short, Hannah put her hands on me. I lost consciousness. I went back in the womb, and I started screaming, "I don't want to be born." And all of a sudden, I felt this intense pressure on my back, and I came back out, and and it was July 4th, the day I was supposed to be born. Ooh, it makes me want to cry. That was 1992 or 3. I forget which. And that changed. That was a whole different ballgame. So from there, I studied expressive arts. And in the expressive arts, I got to the place where I found what caused the cancers through the drawing and the movement. And because I'm a mover and an artist, that stuck with me. There was so much depth and beauty and release in that.
So
Changed my life, brought me back.
How did that happen? How did the dancing and the drawing, how did that help? Can you explain a little bit more about that?
Sure. You get quiet. The process is simple. It's from Tamalpa Institute, which is Anna Halpern's work, another very famous dancer. She's late 90s now. So you get quiet. You're on the ground. You do some rhythmical movement, and an image pops up about what's going on in your body. You don't know what it is. You think you do, but people are always wrong about that. We just don't have access to that depth. So you get an image, you draw the image, and then you dance the image. And in moving the image, your body, after you do it for a good 15 minutes, your body will tell you what's going on. And my body said to me, for the breast cancers, all of a sudden I heard myself saying, "I want it back." And I didn't know what I wanted back. I was just yelling it. And the teacher said, "What do you want back?" And I said, "I want my creativity back," because I was in New York. I danced for 2 years, and I left there. I hated New York, and I stopped dancing. And 5 years later, I got cancer. So my mother was also a writer who couldn't write because in her family, girls weren't artists. So I had that double message. My mom would buy me dance stuff and then shake her head and say, "You can't do that." Very confusing.
So that's interesting. So would you say that, because you weren't be able to dance your dance or dance your true path, that interruption in your divine flow while you're here led to your disease and disorder?
Well, I think I always danced. I swim, I dance, I rollerblade. I've ridden horses. Every movement is my thing.
Yeah.
And I stopped moving.
Right.
So to me, having breast cancer in both breasts, I stopped doing what nurtured me. That's what I found in the movement.
That's really
the beauty.
powerful. That's an incredible insight. So it seems to me that, you've been guided all the way along. I mean, you've been in the right place to meet the right people at the right time. So was it when you sort of threw up your hands and said, either take me off the planet, whoever's in charge, or just heal me right here, right now? Is that the time that you started to receive guidance, or did you have inklings of guidance before that? Or because it seems to me you're one that's really being guided by spirit. Is that correct?
Yes, I've always had it. My great-grandmother was a healer. She could read your mind. My mom was extremely intuitive. Yeah, it's, I always have been. I lost a lot of boyfriends from being that intuitive when I was a kid, because I would tell them what they were doing, thinking it was obvious, and they'd be like, "Oh my God, that, no."
Yeah, you and me both. That was a hard one for me to know that just because I knew didn't mean anybody else on the planet wanted to know. And in fact, they weren't
Right.
ready. So, yeah, I got myself,
Right.
I lost a lot of girlfriends that way. So I have a lot. So who's
Yeah.
this, you were talking about the function of art and all this, and that helped you really discover that part of you that you weren't expressing, which was your creativity. So who's this guy beside you, and how does that all fit into what you're doing? The guy on the wall.
I found that the artwork, the movement, the drawing, the writing helps you get in touch with the reason for something. But
Mm.
it's so cathartic that it doesn't necessarily release the block.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted freedom. So I found maybe 5-6 years ago, I was introduced to constellation work, family constellation work. And I struggled with doing their system for a while. And I thought, this doesn't feel right to me. So I started to take the drawings like this one, and I would make the constellations out of the different colors in the picture. And lo and behold, right to the root, and released it. It's so powerful. Really changed my life. The constellation work, I just think the three together, the energy, the arts, and the constellation work, gets at your issues from every angle and every different intelligence. So the energy work I use to unblock the blocks to your healing, and the cords, the curses, the entities, how you're attached to higher dimensions, your higher chakra, right? Those things.
Yeah.
And the artwork is all about your body and finding out what's in your body. And then the constellation work takes you all the way back through your ancestors, your past lives, your other lifetimes on other planets. It's how you're connected to people that aren't living anymore, and releases what we carry from them. And that seems to be the key. And then I started working with a spiritual teacher who teaches us how to bring the God, light, and love back into your spine, which is where it lives, where it should be living. And it's a very visceral, real time. It's not just etheric. It's not just esoteric. And that changed my work completely. It just, I open up the field.
Mm-hmm.
And in the field, I have access to all information. So I can take people back to creator state. I can take them back to any lifetime, any ancestral influence, any planet they were on, whatever. It doesn't matter. It just, when you open yourself up to the field and you work in the field, you have access to all information. And then you can release whatever your thing is from all those places.
So you can clean them up from stem to stern. Any lifetime, any situation, any port, any storm, any crisis, any timeline, past, present, future. Yeah, that sounds very powerful. I mean, I really like that. So say a little bit more about the constellation work, in the sense that when you're talking about this as this family constellation, why the word constellation? Is it like the constellation in the heaven, where certain family members have certain roles like the planets? What's the connection? Because I don't know if people on this call have an idea what constellation work is all about.
Well, the beginning of it will help. Bert Hellinger developed it, and he was a missionary with the Zulu tribe for 17 years. And he noticed that whenever they had a problem, they would bring in people from the tribe, not them, not the people that were having the problem, but other people to represent their ancestors, because they believed the problems came through their lineage, through the ancestral line. And lo and behold, the ancestors would get on the floor and start acting. I don't think they spoke much. I think they just through movement, whether they were fighting or sick or whatever, they would act out the information that was being translated from one generation to the next, and people would get better. The tribe would get better. So it's very similar, where each color, when I work with you individually, I have a color tile for each color, and I put the color tiles on the floor intuitively. And then I stand on them, and I become that color. So that blue, for instance, could be your grandfather who died from pneumonia in World War II. And you're carrying his fear of the war. You don't know that. Yeah. So it shows up. Whatever's there, it just shows. It's amazing. It just shows up. And once you realize what's going, you either give it back to the ancestor, or the ancestor will ask you for forgiveness. Lots of times the whole ancestral line will show up and thank you for doing the work that heals your family. So we've done it on gun violence. In groups, we do it for you or for social structures, slavery, the Holocaust, gun violence. And that's really my message. I would like people to work together. I would like to see people form groups where we can heal our communities.
Yeah, I'm very much with you. We're at the community stage that now that we know how to heal our energy healers, really we need to do community. It takes community to raise a kid. It takes a community to bury somebody. It takes a community to grow with, to love each other. It takes the community and the planet in order to birth a new way of being. So I agree with you. We need to learn how to live in community. And in our culture, this is not something that we've ever been taught. It's not part of our nature. So yeah, it's a whole new body of information, a way of being in the world that you and I and other peoples hopefully can learn and communicate, particularly to the next generation, right? I mean, the new kids coming through, the rainbows, really don't have a home to be in because most of our culture is still living in the way that we used to, and they're more holistic and more integrative, more interconnected, and we're wanting to stick them into the way that we used to be, right? This doesn't work. So we're at the transformation change, don't you think, where we have to come up with a whole new way for our social, political, economic, and healing processes?
I think we have to heal the pain that's on the planet.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's the number, So the constellations do just that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I always say, we need to heal ourselves, heal one person at a time, starting with ourselves. So I agree with you totally.
Right.
That's the key one. That's the key one. Well, all the suffering that you had to go through on the soul level for you to learn all this in order to then turn around and teach it. This was not an easy path that you chose, but a very important one. And here you are, still vibrant and healthy. So may I ask you, how old are you?
I'm 64. I'll be 65 in July.
Ah. Well, I'm
very healthy.
I'm a ripe 70.
I don't relate to my age.
Yeah, me neither.
I don't see the point. I just am what I am. I think in the whole healing realm, I don't know that I think God, when I said to God, heal me or kill me, that God made me a healer. Because it wasn't on my radar. Right. I didn't want it for years. I kept denying it. I kept getting other jobs and getting fired. Nothing ever worked. And, finally, but it came, the embracing of it came through healing all my blocks to doing it. Marketing, being in the public eye, all that. Am I worthy? Am I good enough? Do I know enough? I had to heal all that. I mean, really get rid of it.
So I guess one of the clues in that is that for people on the call is that if you have an emotional block or a healing crisis, that, that there is a gift in this. If you approach it with the right attitude and work through it and understand it, the gift that you receive is really, really powerful. So it's not that, God or the forces that be are angry with you and they want to punish you. It's a choice. It's a wake-up call. It's a way of deepening your ability to show up and be fully alive in the moment. So don't be depressed in what's happening. Just get hold of somebody to help you through the next step.
Right.
You're going to tell me
all we have to do is release. All we have to do is release. That's it. Once you release, and people often say, well, everybody's like that. Well, that doesn't mean you don't release it. It doesn't matter that everybody's like that. Of course, everybody's like that. We're a collective. Right? We have a collective consciousness. We have a collective history. Yes, we all have a lot of the same stuff, which is why I think we don't change. Because there's so many of us stuck in the same thing. So we have to individually heal ourselves. Then once you heal yourself, your mind gets quiet. And when your mind gets quiet, you start to realize and listen on a different level, right? Then you start to begin to notice, oh my God, there's peace here. There's love here. I've never tapped into it. What is that? Well, it's God or creator or source or whatever. Then I think that the next step from what I understand is God wants to take the human body back because we've been separated from God for thousands, millions, I don't know how many years, a very long time. Now there's so many people raising their awareness that collectively we can do that in mass. I do a movement piece where we move with oneness. So we get quiet, we bring the flow back into the spine, into the body, the organs, the muscles, the tendons, and you just let it move you, and the experience is one of unity consciousness. And once you feel connected to everything, your life changes. It's really that simple, because you don't feel alone and lost anymore. We're a gift to the world.
It sounds like full body enlightenment to me.
Oh, I like that. I've drank that down.
Amelia, I mean, I think we get this misnomer that enlightenment is something woo-woo, or we're going somewhere, or there's a new earth or another dimension. No, it's showing up in your body and being fully present in the moment, and having that kundalini that you're talking about being fully activated, so that you know that not only are you separate in the moment, but you're connected to everything, right?
Right. We're the individual little bubble in the ocean.
Yeah.
Our individuality stays, but we just are rocked and moved from place to place by the ocean. So my goal in working with people now is to help them bring that into their body and let that move them through the day, instead of your list, your plan, you have to get to the future. No, there is no future. It's just right here.
You know, this is something I've been working on, and I looked at my journal just recently, and it's, for one whole year, I've been trying to do what you've just been talking about, is let go of the addiction of doing. I mean, it truly is a cultural addiction that we have to do in order to succeed. So what sort of tips or insights do you have of how to surrender to the divinity inside and receive the guidance, so that we don't feel that we need to do in the old addictive to-do list, which really doesn't get us anywhere? It keeps us very, very busy, very stressed out and exhausted, but doesn't really put us in our divinity and doesn't make us feel good by the time we're finished with the day.
Right. It separates you from God, actually.
Yeah.
So one of the first things I try to help people with is to get inside your chest, go into the middle of your chest and through the heart chakra, and just keep going back towards your spine. And every thought that you find, you move behind it. You move behind the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And if you keep doing that, eventually you'll go into this big, open, beautiful space that's just filled with love. And it's where you connect with your soul, and your soul connects with God. And you just sit in there. So we have to know love of self first, not on an intellectual level, but on a visceral, experiential level, to know that, oh my God, that's what real love is. Because humans don't love well. We're needy, we're lust, we don't do it well. So we have to tune into the heart, which then goes to the soul, which then goes to God, and that opens you up to infinity. Then you just sit in that. You just sit in that.
All right. So how do you start your day then? I mean, do you actually do what you're talking about to start your day? How do you get into that quiet stillness, that still point inside of yourself, so that you're quiet enough to be guided? And then I guess a technical question is, how do you know that you're being guided, and how do you know what is your next step?
That's a really good question, to know is this my mind or is this from someplace else? Right. So we have to stop thinking with our mind. That's the first thing. So when I get up in the morning, my mind is like everybody else's mind. It's already going, I haven't gotten my head up off the pillow, and I'm already, I had this after that. So I stop right there. I have a mantra. I used to do TM years ago, and I just do my TM mantra. It gets me quiet. I'm quiet. I'm calm. I'm still. I get up. I get out. I go make my tea or my coffee, whatever I'm going to have. And I sit in a chair and I close my eyes and I bring God into my spine. That's what I do. I align myself up with the universal flow of oneness by bringing it into my spine, because the light is behind us. It's not in the body. We have to bring the light back into the body. There's a misconception that the light is already in the body. It's not. It's been removed a very long time ago through our separation from God. So God is around us. I think out here. I think here. Right. And if you think here from like the eighth dimension, you will turn your heart on, because the eighth dimension and your heart are connected.
So we're not in the light. And we haven't been for a long time. So are you talking about you're stepping back into the light? Are you bringing the light into your crown chakra? How or how are you activating your spine with light? Tell me a little bit about that process of bringing what you call the light into the body.
So if you close your eyes and go behind your back about 6 to 12 inches, you'll find light. It might be really diffused, but that's fine. That's okay. And you tune into that, and you soften your back, and you open up your back in your mind. You open it up, you soften, which means you're going to remove all your resistance to bringing God back in. You don't have to try at this. You just have to stop resisting.
All right, so another silly question I still don't understand. Why is it behind the spine? Why is that where the light is? I haven't.
You could find it anywhere, but because I think it relates to the heart chakra,
right,
and the fact that the heart chakra goes to the soul, which then goes to God, which goes to infinity. So, and that's really what happens when you get that deep into your body that way. You'll move into infinity. It's just a reference point, really.
Okay.
The light is all around us, but it's very easy for us to go through the heart and back there and to tap into it and then bring it forward into the body by opening up your back and opening up your spine. You bring it back into the spine, and that's your true design. Our true design is God.
I love it.
So
you're really then opening your heart is really what you're doing. You're allowing yourself to relax into that, finding the light of the divinity of who you are, that's really in the depth of who you are, and then bringing it back into the body. Is that sort of what you're saying?
Yeah, it's really not. Opening the heart happens because of it. You're not trying to do that. That's
no trying allowed.
No trying at all. Exactly. Yeah. And that's always been my sticking point. I try really hard.
Yeah, really.
And then and then I couldn't do it. And it dawned on me when the woman I study with, her name is L. Collier Ray. She's in Hood River, Oregon, and she's a fully awakened mystic. And all she does is bring people to this state. That's it. That's all she does. Every year, all day, all night, that's what she does. She's amazing. And anyone can contact her. Heartgate Sanctuary that's how you would Google her. She has 2 websites. That's one of them. But I study with her. That's how I learned all this stuff. And she says things that I've never heard anywhere.
That's
wonderful. And I've been studying a very long time. Yeah, it's pretty powerful stuff. So the idea is to bring the light back in. And when you do that, you will think differently. You're now thinking from here, an expanded consciousness, not your head anymore.
Right.
Worst place to think is from our head.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's, of all the brain aspect of who we are, our brain is not the biggest, it's not the biggest knowingness of who we be anyway. So it's sort of, it sort of got lost in our head. And, our head is a tool. It's a thinking process, but it isn't the totality of who we be at all. It's a mere fraction. Right. And in fact, it's really only functions as something separate from ourselves, and is really only good as sort of like analyzing things after the fact, which I find really interesting. And what you're talking about is full-bodied conscious knowingness, which is a whole body awareness. It's not just from the mind. And find that, in fact, the mind plays a little insignificant role in it. It's part of it, but it certainly isn't all of it. Well, I find this fascinating. I love the fact that you've been on this journey. I don't wish that journey that you've been on for anybody. I mean, truly, you've been on quite a journey, but thank God you have, and that you've been able to learn some deep, deep knowingness that now you're ready to then share it with the world. And if you hadn't done this journey, you wouldn't be in a position in order to help the people that you're here to help. So thank you for showing up. Thank you for being authentic. Thank you for surviving. Thank you for swearing at God and making an agreement with God that either get the hell down here and help me or get me off this planet. So thank you for your courage. So we're getting fairly close to the end of the show. So how do people get to work with you?
Well, I work over the phone. If you're close enough, you can come see me in person. My contact me through email. I do everything that I described. I can do it all by myself. Sessions are 90 minutes. My phone number is 484-767-4890. My email address is Ria Swift. It's RIA Swift, like fast, at gmail.com. And my website, which gives you even a better description of what I do, is riaswift.biz, B-I-Z. And I'm getting on the road to teach. So if anyone has the desire to learn these skills, I'm available. I want to teach people. Most of what I learned myself. Yeah. Just by meditating, tuning in, reading a book. I had no money when I started, none. I was broke. So I just had to, grab free stuff whenever it showed up. And you can do so much of this yourself. The energy medicine, I've written books, so they're just on my website so far. So you can get those and you can start practicing. The artwork you can do yourself, and the constellations you can do yourself. But more importantly, I want people to get together, like I said before, in a group and start to heal your community, because then we don't have to worry about who's president. Then we can just work with ourselves, and become empowered, and they'll just go away after a while.
Yeah,
we're moving back to
we
don't need them.
Yeah, when we are self-actualized, then we can work collectively and do a much more powerful job. So, thank you very much. I love the fact that you want to do community, that you want to bring groups together, that's really your passion. It's mine as well. I look forward to working with you on those topics and actually making it happen so that we can do community, whether it's community in place or it's a community of like-minded people, whether it's by the internet or Facebook or whatever. There's many ways to do community. So please, if you're on this call and listening to this show and want to join us in a community undertaking, one of the places you can start is www.theWellnessShow.ca, where all of the people that are on this show got together and share resources and talk to each other. And so you can drop by there and say hello and meet all of us and get resources to help you on your next step back to the return path of the light, to be all that you could be. So thank you. So what's the last things that you'd like to tell everybody? I mean, that last statement you said was really awesome, but is there one more inside of you that you want to say?
We can be free. I think you have to get that. Yeah. Because most people that I meet don't believe that's true. And that's what has propelled me all these years. I was a very free kid, very free. And then at one point in time, through, how I was raised and all the stuff that happened, I lost that freedom. But I knew it was there. So I'm getting it back. And it started to come back with this last piece of the spiritual work, where I am now I can move beyond me. Ria Swift is nothing. I'm not important. It's not about me, but it's the information that comes through me that I can then spread out. I can talk about it. I can move it. I can say it. That's what's important. What comes through us is what's important. We're vessels, right? We're valuable in that way. People don't understand how valuable they are.
Yeah,
we each have a thing.
It's like, unless you be like the little children, you cannot enter the kingdom of God. It's the innocence of the child, but it's also the wisdom of being able to show up and be connected to source in the midst of the crazy life that we lead. And if we can do that, we're free. Like you say, we're free as a bird. We just have to show up. I guess
you have to stop believing your thoughts. That would be the bottom line. No. They're not true. Just thoughts. Don't pay attention to them. Don't take them seriously.
Your brain is not necessarily your friend.
That's right. They're just thoughts.
Right.
Wavelength of information. That's it.
Yeah.
Based on a past, not the present, not the future.
Yeah, I guess when you think about it, if you're truly in the now, there's nothing to say, nowhere to go, and nothing to do. You're just there.
There's no future.
No, just now.
None. It's just now, right? Yeah.
Well, I've been enjoying this now. This has been a great eternal now. So, yet again, thank you very much. And I look forward to playing with you on the planet and doing community with you. So thanks again for showing up on the show, and we look forward to having you back.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was great. It was great. Take care.
Right,
bye.
Bye. For quality online wellness products, courses, and services, visit our sponsors, theWellnessStore.ca. and the Extraordinary Healing Arts Academy located at thewellnessacademy.ca. To stay in touch, visit us at theWellnessShow.ca. And until next time, be healthy, wealthy, and wise.